So here is the mix of the first track. It's titled Coming This Way, and we're going to jump straight into the instrumentation. So here we've got a sub bass. Here we've got some kicks and a snare. And added an extra kick here just to give it some extra punch. Along with some horns. And some hi-hats to fill in those spaces. And we've also got a piano in there, along with a spacey pad. Combine those two together, you get something really cool and spacey. And all of that together sounds something like this. And that's the instrumentation. One of the key elements of this track was to not make it too repetitive and to make it unique and well designed. So here, there's going to be a lot of pauses and stops with manipulations, fades, repetitive beats, changes of EQ. Right off the bat, we got stuff like this. That fade out effect comes in almost every part of the song. Stuff like that. Something that sort of, modifies the beat in a sense, gives it that sort of uniqueness. There was also moments in the track, as I said before, like changing the EQ, how it sounds, so that it sort of, comes back to normal and sort of goes away and comes back. So it kind of sounds like this. To give it that sort of anticipation for the beat to come back. Here it is on display here. And I used sort of this latch effect down here to sort of move it manually. So you can't see the audio effects on here because they were on the MIDI tracks which were displayed beforehand. But I used some reverb on most of these tracks, mostly because I'm a huge fan of using reverb. I sort of like that echoey effect. So I decided to use something called Space Designer. And in Space Designer, we go to large spaces, we go to halls, and we go to the Dream Hall. The Dream Hall is great for creating those large spaces. So I have it very dry and not as wet because because if it's too wet, it kind of overtakes the dryness and you won't be able to hear as much punch on the kicks and the snares. Whereas if you push it down here, you get a slight gist of it. And here it is being displayed on the, just to show you on the piano real quick. I should also mention that I had the piano EQ'd, again, you can't see it because it's on the audio track, but I had it down here before on the MIDI track because I wanted the piano to sort of be spaced out. I didn't want it showing its full potential here because that sort of effect is also shown in a lot of hip-hop tracks. A lot of the time when rappers are sampling some old 70s song, they always have, most of the time, they have it EQ'd down there, so it feels like it's far away and you can't, it's not processed properly. So that sort of effect is added to the piano, as you can hear from here. With the vocals, again, I wanted to mainly fill the gaps of where the rap was coming in, because sometimes he would fill the space, so it kind of sounds like this.
Loving this game, so I don't go too deep.
With that sort of panned left to right effect, it gives it that sort of, space gap, and that's once again demonstrated here.
Make it. I remember warming up bass with a kettle.
So here is the master of the track, and we've got some audio effects to go through. Some of the ones I just wanted to show in main. So right off the bat, we've got a multimeter here just to measure how many decibels is coming out.
Helping the world and you still don't use it. Got a winner's mentality, but it's built off losing. Said you
And that's just sort of measuring how much sound is coming out, so it's not looking too bad. We have got a spread, which measures the amount of waves that is coming in. I've set it so that there isn't much waves and it's closer to the end. So it kind of, here's how it sounds when it's spread.
lacking in ambition, well, I got low. Got all the helping the world and you still don't use it. Got a winner's mentality.
So it's kind of close and compacted together. And here we have a multiplier. So here you can measure how much low end to high end you want. So it's kind of broke down like that.
Well, I got low. Got all the helping the world and you still don't.
So you hear the sort of different effects. And I've kind of gained the low end up a bit just to give, you know, the kicks and the snares a bit more of effect here. And everything else seems to be balanced pretty well. Right here, we've got something called an exciter. This sort of measures how bright the sound wants to be. We don't want to make it too bright because that will cause all the audio to clip. So we don't want it too turned up.
Too much weed and Xbox can put your life on hold. These men are lacking in ambition, well,
it gives the vocals sort of that, we want the vocals sort of have sound clean and polished. So if we turn it down slightly, it will give it that sort of brightness.
I got low, got all the helping the world and you still don't use it. Got a winner's mentality.
So right here we've got an adaptive limiter. It gives the audio a little bit of gain in a sense, but not too much gain because again that would cause the tracks to clip. So we sort of put it up to about here at first.
I got told, ask my mama learn to walk.
Which is fine, but again that sort of makes that happen, so we decided to turn that back down here.
Mama learned to walk at like 9 months old. Too much weed.
So it doesn't pass the 0 sign. Here is very different because it's a grime track, so there's a lot of fast percussion like this. And you can hear some French horns there as well, along with variations like this. These French horns are also EQ'd down here to give it that sense of space. And here's some quick arpeggiatic strings, along with a heavy sub bass as well. So it fills that space too. Here in the vocal mix, there is a lot more manipulation, as this is a grime track, so it has to be very fast paced. So here's an example.
I'm a king without the armor. Hate to see me involved in drama. Brush man off like my name was Kazama. Ask and him, this is the karma.
The instrumentation is also vastly manipulated, as heard here. With some dramatic EQ change as well. So for the master section, I used most of the same audio effects as I used for the other track, as you can see here. The only difference is I've increased the wavelength slightly in the stereo spread. In the multipressor, I've turned the low end more than before. And I've added 2 linear EQs, so it makes the vocals sound more clean and crisp.